and we're back for lab number 7. This is going to be all about building out tier 1 gateways. Let's take a look. If we come in here to our diagram, what are we working with? Well, we're going to create a tier 1 gateway. We're going to create a tier 1 gateway here called T1GW01, and we're going to connect some segments, our web segment, our app segment, our DB segment. We're going to connect those segments in to the tier 1 gateway, and then we're going to look at that. We're going to look at that in the network topology, see what it looks like there, and then we're going to test connectivity. We're going to make sure SA Web 01 can talk to App 01 or DB 01, for example. So we're going to validate some connectivity there. So that's what we're going to do in this lab. Now, first thing we have to do is make sure that we are logged in to both NSX, which we happen to be logged into here, and to vSphere. And I am logged into vSphere over here. So if you're not, take a minute in task 1 here and go ahead and get logged in. And then we'll go ahead and move on. So moving on means actually creating a tier 1 gateway. So let's go back to NSX. Under NSX, we can go to the networking tab, and we can come down here to tier 1 gateways. And as we're looking at this, we've got a whole lot of nothing here. We've just got the one button that says add a tier 1 gateway. So we'll go ahead and click that. We'll call this gateway T1GW01. We don't want this to be active standby or active. We just want this gateway to be distributed at this point, which means we're going to select that in our HA mode. We do not want to link this to a tier 0 gateway yet, partly because we haven't created one yet. So we've got nothing to link to. If we pull this drop down, we've got no items found. So we'll go ahead and leave that empty. I'm going to go ahead and describe this. Your lab guide doesn't say to do that, but I'm a big fan of self-documenting infrastructures. So there we go, a tier 1 gateway for our 3-tier application. Now, we want to go ahead and expand out our route advertisement. We're going to turn on our static routes toggle. We are also going to turn on our connected segments and service ports toggle. All right, so turn those on. So it should look like this. And then we're going to go ahead and save the gateway. And there it is. Do we want to continue configuring this? Not right now. That's all it was. There we are. We just created a tier 1 gateway. You see how easy that was? So now what are we going to do? Now we're going to go back to our segments. We're going to look at each of our segments, and we're going to go ahead and connect them to the tier 1 gateway we just created. So we'll right click on this vertical ellipsis on this context menu. We'll edit the app segment gateway, and we'll change this connected gateway drop down from none to T1GW01. And then I can go ahead and save this and close editing. All right, now we see app segment is connected to T1GW01. So let's do that same thing for DB segment. We'll edit DB segment and set that to connect to T1GW01. Save that and scroll down and close editing. And third time's a charm, we will do the same exact thing for our web segment. Close that. And now we see all 3 of my segments are connected to T1GW01. We have an interface on each of those on that gateway. 3 interfaces: one 172.16.10.1, one 172.20.1.24, or 20.1 rather, and a third 172.16.30.1. Those interfaces are there. How do we see those interfaces? Well, one way we can see those interfaces is by going to the network topology. And look at this. So, here it says, go ahead and skip this. Now, let's take a look. We can double click a gateway or a workload to see what we call the fabric details. So kind of the physical view of things And then we can also see different services on our Tier 1 gateways. Right? So we're going to give you this if you want to take a second to read through it. Right? It's pretty great stuff. And, here in the lab, it says verify that the web app and DB segments are connected to T1GW01. And then it says click T1GW01 to see our panel here on the right, where we can see that we are distributed only, failover is non-preemptive. We can go click here and see the edge nodes. We don't have any edge nodes here. We're distributed only. We can look at the forwarding table or the interfaces or interface statistics or Tier 0 gateway statistics. If we click on interfaces, for example, what we're really looking at here are interfaces on the edge transport nodes. We're not associated with an edge. It's not a big deal. We're not going to see a whole lot here, right? Not on our statistics. How about our configuration? Right? Again, no real configuration information, which I find kind of interesting. Maybe it just hasn't pulled that information in. So we can close that panel out. We said double click for the fabric view. And the fabric view, right? The cool thing about the fabric view shows the different components, right? So here we just have a DR component. There's not a lot to see with the fabric view of a distributed only gateway. Now we also noticed, since we're here, let's take a quick look. We can double click and see the fabric view of a virtual machine. So this is really useful. I can see the virtual machine is on the host ESXi01, right? I can look at maybe some information about that. One tunnel up, no tunnels down. We got some really neat information here. Right? We can see that we're using the app segment. The app segment is connected to the distributed router for T1 Gateway 01. So this gives us a deeper view of what's going on. That's really, really kind of neat. All right, so we've validated here that we can see everything connected. We can see the topology. We can look at what we need to look at. Let's go over to vSphere. And from vSphere, we want to go back. We're going to go back to Web 01. We're going to go back to the web console for Web 01. Right, we closed that a couple of labs ago because we just didn't need it anymore. And let me make sure I got focus in there. And we're going to make sure we can ping everything else. So I'm on Web 01. That's on my 172.16.10 network. 172.16.20.11. That's my app 01 server. And here we can see I can get to app 01. That's working. This is great. That means that my routing is functional. Now I'm going to hit the up arrow and then the left arrow a couple of times to move the cursor so I can backspace out the 2 and replace it with a 3 so that I'm pinging the database server at 172.16.30.11. And that works. That's fantastic. That is awesome. So we've now created a Tier 1 gateway. We have attached some segments to it. Those segments have virtual machines attached. The virtual machines can communicate across the routed boundary. My router is functioning. This is great stuff. So there we go. That is lab number 7. When you come back for labs 8 and 9, we're going to get into Tier 0 gateways. We'll see you there.